South Carolina's Republican-led legislature is expected to pass a map that could have a major impact on the state's only Democratic district. It's currently led by longtime Congressman Jim Clyburn. The State House advanced the new GOP-favored map earlier this week. You see it on your screen. It passed 74 to 37. 4 Republicans voted against it. This legislation now heads to the state Senate before reaching Republican Governor Henry McMaster's desk. Antjuan Seawright is here. He's a Democratic strategist and the founder and CEO of Blueprint Strategy. Good morning, Antjuan. Thanks for being with us. This is an interesting moment for the Congressional Black Caucus, for black elected leaders, as many of their districts are erased. What does what's happening in South Carolina mean for Congressman Clyburn, for example?
Well, I think this is a consequential moment for the Congress, for the Constitution, and the Congress. I think this process, this racial gerrymandering with the full intent to exterminate and eliminate black political representation starting in the South has been very revealing. I like to remind people, America may be legally integrated, but this process is revealing that we will always be emotionally separated. The fact that you have people who are afraid they're going to lose in November. So this if you can't beat them, cheat them strategy has been implemented all across the South. And they've also realized that when African-American voters show up, we shift the tectonic plates in this country towards progress, and now we're meeting a backlash moment, which is true and consistent with the history of this country. I think what this means for Jim Clyburn and what it means for the country and what it means for African Americans, that in every single election, we are casting a survival vote in every single election. And that's why our participation is so important at the ballot box, up and down the ballot.
You know, I also want to ask about what we saw happen at the Supreme Court last month, that decision sort of shrinking black representation. So how will that impact the Congressional Black Caucus?
Well, the goal of that court decision and the goal of the efforts we see with this racial gerrymandering is to simply eliminate black political representation. I think the country, and I think Republicans in particular, are aware about the power of our vote. I said on CBS after the 2020 election that the same hands that once picked cotton now pick presidents. And they've been clear to understand that now they would rather see us in the cotton picking line versus in the voter participation line. And so they know when the Congressional Black Caucus is at full throttle and full strength, America benefits. When it's not, that means only a certain segment of the population benefits. That's why you see this fastest growing effort to roll back black political power in the South since Hayes ended Reconstruction in 1877 is in full effect.
And I was going to say, Antjuan, you talk about the ebb and flow of progress in America after emancipation, when slavery was ended officially. Many formerly enslaved Americans were able to run for office, own land, buy property. But then you had Jim Crow laws, which aimed to snatch all of that back. So what then is the message for viewers and voters today? Because Democrats have tried their own redistricting effort with mixed results. So what should people take away from all this?
That we have to vote our way out of this, as we have always done historically as a community. Look, and because we've always voted our way out of these situations, African Americans have found themselves being at the decision-making table and not on the menu. But what's happening in this country, starting in the South, and will likely try to increase outside the South, is this effort to roll back a pre-1964, pre-1965 environment where we are literally operating on life support as Black Americans. And when Black Americans are operating in that posture, so is the rest of the country. And that's why it should be all hands on deck. It's African Americans impacted in the South today, but it could be any other constituency tomorrow or at another date. That's why we need full support from the full beloved community, as John Lewis would put it, in order to move past this phase of what they're trying to do.
An important perspective to share, Antjuan Seawright. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Antjuan.